Hey everybody, today I just want to do a quick video on a really cool tool. It's pretty widely known, but just wanted to raise a little more awareness in case you didn't know what's out there. But specifically, this is, well, it's actually a couple tools created by Wovalab. So specifically, this is going to be AsciiDoc and Antidoc, and some of the plugins that are available with that. So what these are really cool tools for. So AsciiDoc basically just allows you to um, create like a document, right, in like a generic format. So it uses like some AsciiDoc tools. I'm not super familiar on all of those and the inner workings of that. There are a whole bunch of standards you can find online on the format and syntax of those. But basically, it allows you to um, here, and I can show you in the palettes. Um, so yeah, if you open the AsciiDoc stuff, you can create a document, right? And you can define basically the type of the document, and you can add sections to that document that contain blocks, and those things can contain, text or images, and there's tools for creating, different types of graphs and charts and tables and all sorts of cool stuff. So it makes it really easy to generate documents. And if you look at like the generate outputs, you're gonna be able to basically generate this out document as like one of a couple different types. So you can generate it as like a PDF, which I use the most. I can basically render my ASCII file that contains all of this stuff that could be, right, hundreds of pages of stuff, right? But then I can basically compile that into a PDF, and it actually does a lot of really cool stuff for you in the background, like create clickable tables of contents and stuff that I can just open right there, and I can have kind of like a hierarchy to my document, and I can click those and navigate through the documents, which is really cool. I can render that as like a PDF. I also can render it as like an HTML document if I wanted that to be viewable differently. So really cool. This allows you to kind of custom create like basically any document you want. It could be anything. And yeah, there's just simple functions for creating different visualizations basically, and adding content and whatnot. So yeah, really pretty cool. And then all this also works with the command line, so you can actually run this from the command. Actually, I don't know if AsciiDoc that works so much through the command line. I guess it can. But yeah, the Antidoc, which I want to talk about now. So Antidoc is another cool tool that's built basically with AsciiDoc. But this allows you to create documentation specifically for like your LabVIEW code. The simplest way to use it, so as you can see, there's all these functions in the palettes for creating an Antidoc. And it's very similar structure to the AsciiDoc stuff. If you use that, you get familiar with it. The structure of this is very similar. But this is stuff that's much more specific to creating documentation for your LabVIEW code. And yeah, these functions are just specific to that. So you can go and create your own custom, basically, documentation for your code that way. But they actually went further, and they have a really simple tool for you to use. So if you go to Tools in LabVIEW, and you're going to want to go to Antidoc and Generate Documentation. So it's going to take a minute to load, and it's going to ask for all your type add-ons. So just before we get started, all this stuff is available on VIPM, so you can install AsciiDoc. You can also install Antidoc, and then there's additional add-ons for Antidoc that you can use. So specifically, there's one for LabVIEW project documentation, and there's one for toolkit documentation. And then you can even go on and build your own additional add-ons as well. But yeah, so I can basically specify from my add-ons what type of thing I want to do. So I'm going to select a LabVIEW project. I can specify the path to that project. I can specify the document name. Let's say, author name, my email, and yeah, so that's really at like a low level all you need to do for some basic documentation generation. If you look at more options, there's actually some more. So you can scan for libraries that are in dependencies that aren't actually part of your project. So you can add that. This actually has a ton of stuff built into it as well for DQMH. So if you're working with DQMH, it does a great job at documenting your DQMH modules and projects and whatnot. So yeah, stuff for that. And then also, if you've got private functions in your libraries or classes, you can include whether you want those documented or not, or if you only want to expose the public functions. And you can also, add additional things to skip and strip and whatnot. You also can basically save a configuration to a file and then just load that from file, so you don't need to configure all of your settings and all of that stuff every time. And then here you have kind of your general settings. So I can determine whether the formats I want to generate this documentation in, file names, destinations, all sorts of stuff. So I can kind of customize the way AsciiDoc works. But once you have everything configured how you want, you just need to click Generate Documentation. And it's going to go and generate documentation for that. I'm missing the tool chain. Sorry. While we're talking, I'll run that. Really simple. Just click a button and you have documentation. It generates a really nice PDF. If you have lots of classes, and I'll show you this, it's going to generate like UML diagrams of the classes and list the methods in those classes, which in this project we have a couple. So I think it'll be a cool one to show. Sweet. So I've got AsciiDoc installed now, so it's generating my document. So I got the HTML, got the PDF. Let's open this in Chrome so you can see the HTML one. So yeah, you get this really nice document. So it kind of builds your table of contents out over here. I have my project description, my classes, class overviews. Right, this pulls automatically the description from the project. So in this case, right, I didn't have one. Oh, sorry. It also wants to open my PDF, which I'll show you that one in just a sec. But yeah, so, right, if I wanted to fix that, right, I can go to my project and I can go to properties, and you can see this is where I would input the description, and it's going to pull that automatically. So it also helps make sure that you're documenting stuff. So then it goes and breaks down and says, hey, these are the classes in this project. It contains this many classes, this many interfaces. And you also get this cool, little UML diagram. So I've got my generic plugin is the parent class, and these are its methods. And then I can also see that we've got these children classes that inherit from generic plugin. And then, again, this is pulling descriptions from this code. So you want to make sure you're adding descriptions to your LabVIEW classes because it makes your documentation better. We also get the version of the LabVIEW class, and it breaks down methods for us, right? So it gives us the name, it shows us the connector pane, and it also pulls the description from it automatically for us, which is really cool. It also will break down over here, and they give you like a little kind of definitions, right? So you've got scope, so you can see if something is either protected or community. Nothing means that it obviously is neither. You can also see reentrancy. So are we pre-allocated, reentrant, shared reentrant? Nothing obviously means that it's non-reentrant. We can also see if it's an inlined function as well. And then it breaks down the other children. So I can see, orange inherits from generic, and orange only has these two methods. And again, this is pulling the description from the VIs themselves. So we need to make sure we update those in our code so that it pulls in a description. And yeah, so we can see methods there. And you do get this legal information at the bottom, which basically just says that this was created with AntiDoc and, Wovolab. They did a fantastic job with this. It's a great tool. But yeah, easy peasy. Like, generates all that documentation that looks fantastic, is professional, and it took a couple seconds to do. And then, yeah, I can show you the PDF version of this as well. So we get this guy. And yeah, we've got a table of contents, and this is clickable as well. If all this follows the exact same structure as the HTML, we get our project description, and here's our classes. And it breaks down the UML diagrams, all that stuff. So super, super easy. And you can also even invoke this from the command line. So if I want to if I have some sort of CI/CD pipeline that I want, as I change my code, I want it to generate new documentation, I can set that up really easily. So, it'll replace the documentation with the latest. That way, any changes I made in my code, I don't need to go back into my documentation and manually update it. It's all done automatically. So super, super cool. In my opinion, one of the best tools available for LabVIEW. I use it all the time, and it's just fantastic. And so yeah, if you're interested in simplifying documentation, which is nobody's favorite job, I highly recommend you look at AsciiDoc and Antidoc. They're fantastic tools, and Wovolab's just done a great job with them. So thanks for watching. I hope that's helpful.
Canon Controls is your gateway to mastering LabVIEW. Dive into programming for data acquisition, industrial communications, and manufacturing automation. Explore how to enhance your projects with cybersecurity best practices. Join the journey to elevate your skills and secure your systems with every episode.